Keep an eye on the solo lane this game because it's about jungle pressure as well as the lane matchup that we're going to be seeing. But this solo lane seems to be the one that's really dictating the whole game.
Picks and bans ready for game number 4. Dignitas, they're 1 win away from being the Spring Split champions.
I think we're going 5 games. Like, honestly, I really do. I think it's actually really close between these two teams. It will be involved in picks and bans to do with the solo lane pressure from my point of view. The amount of people I've spoken to, I think like 95% of the people I've spoken to this weekend have said this is 3-1 Obey at worst. Whereas Rafa on the desk with me, probably the only dude I've spoken to who's gone, nah, this is Diggs.
Yeah, and he was saying 3-0 or 3-1.
I said 3-0 was 3-1. I knew I was a bit scared if they lost the game, they might get tilted a tiny bit because I know their sort of personalities, but they definitely overcome that. I've got to give some credit to
Biggie for that as well. I think Biggie's the one that we talk about coaches and what they can actually bring to a team. You were saying yourself, Rafa, like for a coach, they've just got to be unscared to say the things that need to be said, even if these players might have a bit of an ego or an attitude towards them and like, I know best. You've still got to say that thing.
You have to. I mean, we need a coach as well, so looking for coach. Apply to Yamin.
I'm trying to think who's available right now for coaching. Krat, get Krat.
Maybe.
Ooh, Krat.
Pull Krat on the woodwork.
Tier 1 coach, dude. But then Paladins would be lost without our good friend
Maybe
Krat.
get a North American coach so they can get to a final. When you can make Rafa laugh because of the banter, that's when you've gone too far, right?
I could definitely take an Xbox player, at least give them some glory.
That's right. Hey, man, Rafa looked right at me, and I'm saying, Hindu, if I get the offer, you may have to find another caster because I'm going to coach.
You might actually be good at something then.
Out on much.
I know, see, you set up yourself. Like, wow, don't play those games.
Serket, the first ban there for Team Dignitas. This has been a pick that's been hotly contested between these two teams. And Obey, they're the ones sitting in the second pick spot. Dignitas, they were second pick in game 3. 3-0 so far this set.
That's Serket ban for me.
It's so funny. Morrigan. They don't want to pick it because of the Morrigan.
So they can't pick it themselves, even though Chivo's fantastic at Serket. And they still think that banning away the Serket is better for them than banning the Morrigan because Morrigan is susceptible to gank pressure and early pressure on. You can put her behind, she's not much of an issue for you. But if you get the Serket in the game, the Serket keeps getting fed, you've got to deal with these ultimates that are going to be game-changing.
And even though it isn't being banned away, that really dissuades the Hunbats pick as well for Team Dignitas. And not on the side of Obey, where they could pick the double Fear No Evil sort of composition, but certainly for the team that is up 2-1 in this series. Hou Yi banned from Obey. They're sick of getting crushed by Arkil with this Hunter, and Terra second banned there by Dignitas.
That's what I believe Amaterasu, that game didn't do so well.
No, Emilzy did struggle on that pick, and whenever you don't get ahead with the Amaterasu support, it can be very difficult to get back into it.
So first pick for Dig here, Rafa, is it Osiris, is it Raven? You can't give them both to Obey, because every time we've seen them get both, it's been a problem.
I think it depends on this next ban, but I think they're looking at Kernesis.
Kernenos?
Kernenos, yeah.
Kernenos?
Kernenos is on the table, but it's going to be the Amaterasu ban. Interesting.
I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah.
As am I.
I guess they were kind of surprised that Trix pulled that out more than anything else, and I don't think they were prepared to deal with it. Obviously, Obey themselves rate it highly because they run it in the support role, so maybe they're just giving the respect to Dignitas that, hey, we know it's strong, let's not give it them.
I guess, but there's been so much about getting ahead on the right side of the map that whenever you just see what happens to Emilzy in game 3 there, where you fall behind through no fault of your own, it's just the enemy team gets so much farm that you can't really contest it, and then that Amaterasu support doesn't really help you.
So, no. But Fafnir did get through, and we didn't mention that because this is how the meta kind of evolves in these LAN settings, where gods that were banned right at the beginning of the set sometimes get ignored because there's other threats that people have shown so far. But Fafnir, Raven, they don't even have to go Osiris here straight away, and I think Obey could get Osiris as well. No.
That looks like it's certainly possible. Khepri and Nemesis are the two picks in retaliation to that Fafnir Raven.
They've made a big mistake.
I agree. If Obey locking Osiris here, they could ban away Bellona straight away. They leave all the things up that Variety's not looked great on today. Let him have the Cabrakan. Why not? Sure. You want to play the Ymir? We could potentially leave that up, but at the same time, maybe shut that one down too and force him to the Erlang Shen again.
See, Obey, I was going to say earlier that they banned the Kronos. They're not going to ban it this time. I think they would prioritize definitely the solo laner.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They have to. It did way too much work.
And Zero's proved that his Thoth is excellent, so you can't really, even if you're banning away Soul Chronos like they did in Game 3, still has that carry potential on the mid lane mage.
But it's respect from both the two teams because they both recognize you can't ban out Prime and you cannot ban out Zeros either. What's the point in even going for them right now? Maybe in the counterban phase because there's only 2 roles left for each of the teams to pick, and one of them for both is mid. We probably will see some mage bans, but I'd like to see Obey focus to make sure Variety doesn't get his Premier Gods.
Now, on the other side, I'd like to see Dignitas ban away Rom from Ataraxia. Ataraxia's had a great performance on that god consistently all weekend, and really has only played Keranos and Rom so far. Make him prove that he's got something else in the bag to pull out here.
I think that ban's going to come through the Rama.
It's definitely a good call because when you think about how Ataraxia has done throughout his performances at LAN for his career, he'll stick to 1 or 2 gods. He very rarely strays away deeper than 2 gods. Maybe a third at a push if he's really put on the pedestal, but if you ban the Rama, maybe Hou-Yi as well, just so you don't have that Hou-Yi, which has been very dominant this LAN. They're the 2 options they could go for. Hou-Yi's already banned, so with Rama off the table too, are we going to see the Chiron?
Could be.
Who knows?
No way.
It's going to be Thoth banned, so it could be a Thoth Vulcan sort of pairing.
There's
the
Bellona.
Bellona. Smart bans coming out of Obey.
Had to happen, man. Had to happen, that one.
I like both of these bans. Hitting Variety's main god that he wants to pick in this scenario, and Zero's is as well. But it's going to be the Medusa. Ataraxia did play this last time. Didn't have a lot of success on it, but they'd rather let him have that Rom. And that's what he's going to go to.
Not so sure what I prefer about that, whether I do like the fact that they allowed the Rama to go through, or they were worried about the Medusa more. I'm surprised they took away the Toth more than anything else, I think. They could have left the Toth available for Pretty Prime in the mid lane here, let him go for that, and then try and pick around it. They've got a decently enough comp so far.
Could be, or it could have been a Vulcan ban and let Zeros pick the Thoth for himself. Now Zeros, just based on what he's played so far this weekend, we're predicting that he's probably going to go Chronos here, right? With Soul and Thoth banned away, those are the 2 that he's been playing the majority of the time if Chronos isn't available.
I really don't think he's going to play Chronos versus this team, but we'll see in a second.
Hercules, the selection there for Variety in that solo lane.
I tell you what, times like this, I look at a draft and go, damn, I wish I still had room to fit an Odin in my composition if I was Obey. Because there's only one god that can escape that ring, and it shuts down so many problems for that team.
That's true. That would have been pretty solid, but I don't know. Obey is so much about that. Their team fighting is really good, but also their invades. Odin not great at those invades. Good early on in terms of damage and pressure, but
Nox.
Instead it's going to be the Nox.
I mean that's for the Chronos and to sit on the Khepri.
Yeah, put the silence underneath the Khepri. No available escapes for him. Or you can't use any of his abilities during the silence, obviously, which means he can't ult. And on top of that, he can't escape either with his abduct or even root them in place.
Also excellent against that Nemesis. You can lay the silence down underneath her. She can't dash away, and it takes that shield away because she gets hit by that hard CC. All right, tell me, guys, is Dignitas winning the spring split right here?
This is 2-2.
This is 2-2. I think Obey's going to take this one based on the solo lane. Overall, I think Hercules is pretty good. He's one of Variety's good gods. But I think Nox will out-rotate Zeros in the early game. Zeros likes to sit and farm. If Nox makes these rotations with those silences,
all depends on Hercules and how he does this game.
I agree.
Okay. Keep an eye on the solo lane, says the analysts. Tom and Toli, bring us game 4.
I'm going to be looking more at that mid lane, honestly. I think this Nox pick is interesting. I think that there's a lot of thought behind it, but the execution last time left a little bit to be desired. I loved the Nox pick last time, and we just didn't see it work out by way of how it played on the battlefield.
Well, to be fair, that was the reason they got that first blood, because of the double dash damage. Dashing through Yammit, detonating it, finding that first blood was just so important for Obey Alliance. I doubt they're going to find that first blood opportunity again against Zeros, but I'm not necessarily looking at this mid matchup or solo matchup. I'm looking far in the duo lane. I'm looking at Arkel against Ataraxia. This Keranos being first pick from Team Dignitas, they expected either the Keranos or the Amaterasu for themselves.
They did, and it does not go that way, so how do you have to adjust?
Gonna have to avoid fighting if you're Ataraxia, because not only is Arkel aggressive, but the matchup doesn't favor the Rom in the earlier stages of the game. You throw out your clear from Arkel, and Ataraxia can't get too close to throw out those astral arrows right off the bat, which gives Arkel that slight edge in terms of rotating in the jungle and playing those important mind games that he's been known for.
Yeah, look at the difference in KDAs here. Much more safe hunter is Ataraxia. Not getting into too much trouble. Right now, Team Dignitas, they're the ones that want to cause trouble. Going to clear out the wave here and then likely push into the jungle.
finding the easy clear. This is not going to allow Ataraxia or Emilzy to find too much opportunity here. Sure, they can maybe sneak away their red buff here, but they're going to lose their purple buff. And not only that, they're going to lose so much gold under tower.
Obey, however, will try to fix things by heading out into the enemy jungle on the right side of the map. Not just the speed, but also the blue buff. You can see Maniac heading down there as well. A little bit of punishment coming out by way of Emilzy, but it's 1-on-2, and so likely won't really pursue much anything there.
Not going to find too much opportunities there. Emilzy really trying to shut down that purple buff invade. Had he be the one that's stolen it, he would have been, not level 2 necessarily, but it would have prevented the dual lane out of Team Dignitas from reaching that important level 2, and that would have given Ataraxia enough of an opportunity to out-clear those two members.
A couple of pings coming out as Obey are looking for the Cold Fury little guys, and Emilzy's here to really prevent anybody from trying to stop things, but there's that Nox, and the silence is good, and bananas go the way of Obey, but Trixtank gonna go ahead and grab Emilzy. He's able to jump away. Thought we might have seen the first blood, but too slippery is the young dwarf.
The underhanded tactics providing use in terms of escaping that action. Still having meditation available. Trixtank looking for some aggression, getting the beads out of Ataraxia. Not even 2 minutes into the game.
Big win right there, Anatoly.
Absolutely. That's going to be a 150-second cooldown now. That 2.5 window for Dignitas could be more aggression into the duel lane. I wouldn't even be surprised if Cubo Fred, as soon as he hits 5 in the next minute, to make that important rotation, shut down Ataraxia with that red buff, giving Arkil that slight edge and making him just absolutely snowball the rest of that lane.
Cubo Fred has the red buff on the jungle nemesis here instead of giving it to his mid lane or even the hunter Arkil.
Well, the problem was that Obey Alliance did a great job invading the speed buff side, so all the pressure that Dignitas had in the Hunter side of things, they gave it up in the solo. The aggression between Captain Swig on the Robin, Maniac on the Osiris combines for one of the deadliest 2v2s in the early level 1, level 2 skirmishes. Not wanting to deal with that, Cubo Fred was like, fine, you could take that, I'm just going to take your red instead.
Look at this. The ambush is planned, but it's going to miss. Arkil a little bit too impatient. Shoots out that fire shot, shoots out the basic attack before you can get the Khepri root into the abduct. So a little bit of a show from the Hunter, going to prevent that. Right side, however, Variety in trouble. Jumped on by 1, jumped on by 2, and put in the ground by Maniac. It's a win for the Portuguese powerhouse, and Obey are the first one to notch at the number in the kill column.
Both the solo and jungler yet again jumping into the thick of things, diving that tier 1 tower, just no fear whatsoever, recognizing the damage that they need to shut down this Hercules before he gets tanky, before he gets any levels online, before that mitigate wounds makes a huge impact in surviving those ganks.
Still, Obey trying to stay aggressive in Team Dignitas' jungle. Speed buff is spawning, and right like clockwork, Obey are here waiting. Double dash out of Cubo Fred as he's trying to survive and defend his own jungle. Not going to be the case. Obey taking advantage and looking for that jungle piece. There it is. Speed buff goes the way of Obey.
Obey Alliance, the way they played the second game with this Osiris Raven, it shows us the same exact impact of how they're able to keep on rolling around. But in the left-hand side, rolling around is Emilzy out of danger, just barely, so low. And with that meditation, both Trixtank and Arkil, they're going to push their lead. So despite all the advantages Obey has in that solo, Dignitas trying to control it in the duel lane.
Emilzy very low here.
Pretty Prime, though, makes the rotation, surprisingly enough. Zero's not able to truly make that impact. And we were talking about it before the game started, about that opportunity, how the Nox is going to be able to out-clear the Chronos and make these important rotations.
Prime make that rotation because of how low his support was. Emilzy was in kill range. So if Dignitas come back and loop into that enemy purple buff, they can take care of the support. Pretty Prime shading over allows that to turn into a successful team fight if things go that way. Oracles go the way of Dig here. and the vision belongs to the blue team.
Obey Alliance with a comfortable 1,000 gold lead at the 5-minute mark, still trying to figure out how to deal with the aggression, though, out of Arkel playing the Cernunnos. Because sure, you can be looking for plays to shut down Variety, but at the end of the day, a Hercules, once he gets to level 14 or higher, he's going to have out that maxed out Driving Strike, maxed out Mitigate Wounds, he's going to have the CDR and Breastplate of Valor and whatnot, and he's just going to be looking for pulls, pushes. If you let Arkel farm for free, he's going to be that devastating force coming out of Dignitas to provide the damage.
One thing that I really like about Variety's Hercules specifically is how he's not always looking for the combo. Variety can use either the pull or the push independently, and I think that's what makes him not just a good Hercules, but one of the great Hercules players, is that he will just use the lift as peel for his teammates, saving that stun for setup later on. Having that option instead of the dedicated 1-2 combo like we see so many Hercules play is very important, and his accuracy with those abilities is what allows him to do so.
Not only that, he even utilizes his Driving Strike just to cut the distance if somebody's about to get away, pulling them back in. Trickstank gets silenced, Rooted taking a lot of damage, Arkel making the rotation, forcing the Mystic Rush out of Captain Twig. Gonna be a wash.
So that's exhibit A of why the silence is going to be very strong against this squad. No abduct if you're in the silence field is going to be a very big deal. Now exhibit B will be no revive if you're in the silence field. So next time Pretty Prime, should he want to avoid that ultimate out of Khepri, he'll go ahead and put the silence field underneath him, preventing him from saving the teammate.
2 defensive ultimates just for Nox. Trickstank caught in a bad spot, but he adopts Emilzy. Pretty Prime left alone. Cubo Fred credited with that one. Emilzy having to go into Draconic form just to get away. Maniac diving in, Lord of the Afterlife.
There's a big jump coming out from Maniac right there. He's going to be dashed under tower. Does have the passive all the way up, but he's got to get all the way out. 3 players surrounding him. He does have a little bit of slows himself, but likely to fall here, and he will. Zeros picks up kill number 1 for our 4th set of the day.
Pretty Prime and Maniac taking a spill as only Trickstank really fell for Team Dignitas. 2 for 1, so still making the plays happen despite getting a slow start. That rotation from Maniac was relatively good, but diving in just to kill a support, he had no possible way of escaping unless he went back up north into his teammates instead of trying to go around under the jungle.
Yeah, a couple of different pathing options he could have taken advantage of, but ultimately decided on the one that he did. And so we see him fall down for the first time this game. 2-1-0 though. So he's more positive than anything else, and I think that is a positive look if you're an Obey Alliance fan at home. And you should continue to really have faith in what Maniac can do, because as soon as he has a small lead, he can catapult it into a larger one.
With this net worth advantage for Maniac, he opts to go for Mark of the Vanguard between finishing off that height of Nemi in line more than likely. And that's going to give the edge slightly to Variety to catch up to that huge boost of that Breastplate of Valor. Once he gets that 20% cooldown reduction, he's going to be making these important rotations, trying to shut down Pretty Prime in that mid lane. This Nox has been so good so far, I would say, out of Obey Alliance, finding multiple control or huge area of effect control between that silence and then that single target route, locking down so many people in place. We saw before the action happened in mid lane how he was able to force out 2 defensive ultimates, both out of Zeros and Trickstank, just by using that long distance snipe.
Yeah, and that just a threat of that long distance snipe can really be a big deal. We see it most often on Thoth since you could cancel it, but the threat of having that available just makes you position in such a different way around the map, and specifically around team fights, that just the presence of that character alone can alter how you approach different scenarios.
Still 9 minutes into the game. This is a boxing fight in the solo lane. Variety getting the worst end of things as Maniac is trying to utilize the Broken God to his most advantage, having this health chalice, trying to get some more defenses. The snipes. Arkel in a lot of trouble. The second one. Oh, the Archers finds the kill. Arkel can't believe it himself.
Winions! That's what we call that play. The flip is good. The kick will not be. Obey Alliance still have the kill lead here. 3 zip as that are actually against the solo kill onto Arkel.
You say that, but Arkel, he kind of played himself, but playing himself is Maniac as he gets pulled, pushed under the tower, diving his Captain Twig. Boulder off the mark. Maniac, though, he doesn't have his ultimate. Trix Tank finds the root, finds the damage over time, but the med is good.
Meditation out of Emilzy. There's the transformation. Now a little bit of help. Captain Twigs takes down Variety. 3-on-1 here on the right side. Zeros is in trouble. One more basic will do it. And Prime gets the kill. Obey getting kills everywhere.
Dying in the dual lane, in the solo and mid. All three lanes has a victim of Team Dignitas, credited with a speed buff now from Captain Twig. After the 10-minute mark, Portal Demon spawns, and it'll go down right away.
Obey Alliance now after the Portal Demon at about 11 minutes, leading the game by 3,000. Interesting pacing here as we pick up the pace and start going fast.
10, almost 11 minutes in. Dignitas has just been not looking like the same team. It's just bunch of back and forth action between these two teams within this whole entire set, and Obey Alliance are looking so strong here despite this first pick Kerninos. And as I was about to talk about, that solo kill that Ataraxia had was due to the over-aggression from Arkel. He was technically fighting 1v7, having to deal with every single minion.
You know, when it comes down to it, Tully, I'm still not, I don't think Dig fans need to be scared right now. This is, again, a late game draft out of a team. You're kind of supposed to be behind 2,000 or 3,000 of 10 minutes. Right now, stretching it out to 4, that's not, or 3.3, that's when you start to have to think about things. Go, all right, how far behind can we afford to get? But this is a team that's supposed to be behind 1,000 to 2,000 at this point in the game, so I'm not really sweating.
Not at all. Oracle's going the way of Dignitas, controlling the vision around that goal. Fear surprised to see neither team going for this objective quite yet, despite Obey Alliance having a very comfortable lead. Instead, they're trying to go for some more kills onto Trix Tank.
And there's a body block coming through. Wonderful play. It's going to force out Trix Tank's ultimate. Nice and early. That's kind of all Obey were really looking for, was that Khepri ult.
Trying to find some more damage is Pretty Prime with that huge Shadow Step, cutting the distance into more damage, flirting with the idea of the Gold Fury. Not going to start it up quite yet, however. They're still looking for more of these picks, especially with Trix Tank getting off his ultimate, still sitting here with only half health.
It's going to be Zero surrounded, forces the ultimate before the Silence Field comes out. Beautifully timed by the mid laner for Team Dignitas. Pretty Prime picks up 1, and with no support, Dignitas have to be careful here. Obey have the upper hand. They start at the Gold Fury.
Variety has made his rotation, looking for some sort of play, but Maniac is a level ahead, and he's looking for some more plays. Gold Fury very low. Obey Alliance securing the first one of the game, but Maniac's not done yet. The snipes from Ataraxia. He wants Arkel. He misses the second and the third, but Maniac's not done.
Still looking forward, and Arkel will be the one that's found. Number 8 for Obey Alliance. There's the Hurt Boulder coming out. And it's just going to do minimal damage. Variety's now the one in trouble, Toli. And Maniac puts number 3 on the notch.
Trying to find Ataraxia in return, those Zeros and Cubo Fred diving the Hunter out of Obey Alliance. They find the slice and dice, but they're going to get pincered.
And that's a great play. Cubo Fred answering back. Team Dignitas, bit by bit, need to look into this game just like that. Cubo Fred's in trouble, though, and will be put down. Maniac brings his team to double digits.
10 kills in 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Obey Alliance are so elite right now, heading into the further stages of the game where they're just constantly applying more and more pressure with this lead. Spear of Desolation now finished for the Nox players. Just going to have so much early flat penetration.
And I like this play specifically because of where it comes from, where the team is with respects to gold. 5,000 gold in the lead, you can go ahead, and that step from tier 2 to tier 3 doesn't really bother you. You know, it's 1,200 gold between tier 2 and tier 3 on that item, and that's usually problematic. But if you're picking up Gold Furies, if you're getting deicides, well, that gold doesn't really bother you too much. 5K in the lead now, as the other tower is going to put 5,500 in the lead for Obey Alliance.
Still looking for something around the solo lane now with this tier 1 out of the way. They're just going to retreat, get their own buffs. This is the point where Dignitas have to be thinking to themselves, like, okay, how do we stop the bleeding that Obey is just inflicting upon us? Like, because these band-aids are just not enough.
Right, you know, they need some heavy-duty gauze right now. And I think that they're doing a good job of finding stuff, because this league can definitely be running out of control like we've seen a number of the leads happen this weekend. But this one's staying kind of smooth and steady, going from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. If they're making small incremental leads like this, this is something Dig can fight against.
Variety still can't really get the better end against Maniac's Osiris. This is a god that he's been playing since the beginning of his Smite career, which is why Obey Alliance love prioritizing it for him every single time that it can get it before the secondary ban phase comes out.
So right now, 15 minutes in, Obey are in the driver's seat, but Dignitas are definitely right next to them, kind of grabbing for the wheel. Zeros gets a little bit of poke, but nothing to be concerned about. If you're a fan of the mid laner from Team Dignitas, he should generally be fine, and absolutely will be. Trixtank, him, Zeros, and the jungler, or excuse me, the solo laner Variety here, now looking to collapse on Captain Twig. But the Robin, not going to be the target just yet.
Not at all. They're going for a different option. Before he was tanky, now he's more aggressive, going for the Warrior Tabby, Brawlers, Jotun, going for both the Sunder and the Undo Relic, trying to go up for the Portal Demon, Obey Alliance. They really want to secure this, but Variety throws out his Boulder, and that's going to be a team fight started by Obey.
Yeah, this could be a really big one. Team Dignitas going to get collapsed on. Variety very low, but able to heal it back up. Ataraxia firing blindly into the objective fight, and it's not going to find a home just yet. Pretty Prime takes out Arkle on the top side. Variety misses the flip, and Pretty Prime takes him out.
The double kill from the Nox. The Shadow is there. Variety and Arkle taking a spill, diving back into the tier 2. Maniac and Captain Twig. The revive, though, from Trixtank, keeping his jungler alive for a little bit longer, but this opens the window for this Portal Demon.
Yeah, this one's going to go down pretty much for free. I don't think there's anything Dignitas can or want to do about this one. That Portal Demon just goes the way of Dig, free and clear, extending their lead even more so.
The long-distance snipe from Ataraxia, getting Arkle low enough, and then the long-distance shot from Pretty Prime, finding the kill. This is the synergy between these two former Titan members.
12 kills for Obey Alliance, and right now everything seems to be coming up Millhouse for them, at least in this game. They only have one game to Dignitas's 2, but if you want to answer back, this is how you do it. Look for a game 5. QoFred able to get out of the silence field, but Trixtank not so much. Still not too much damage.
Finding something around this corner, Trixtank spots out 3 Obey members, 1 joining them in the mid lane. This tier 1 tower is looking mighty tasty for Obey Alliance. Not really concerned with this is Arkle, though. He was thinking about split pushing on the left, but instead trying to figure out if Obey are actually going to commit to this tier 1 mid, or if they're going to start rotating for this important Gold Fury that has just respawned.
And I think it's the latter. I think Obey Alliance certainly are more interested in the Gold Fury, and Dignitas should be around to really try and stop it. Zeros, not exactly the Zeros' character. The Chronos, not exactly the best at stopping objectives, but Maniac going to be able to control 2 players here on the right side of the map.
Captain Twig barely juking out that abduct, slowing QoFred as Maniac around the corner. All 5 members now of Obey Alliance transitioning from that solo side jungle into mid, shifting their attention around that Gold Fury. There has to be a response from Team Dignitas. They either hold this, or do they try to sneak the fire jump, but it seems that they want to try to contest.
Yeah, it's got to be the call, but Obey's going to peel off and look for the team fight instead. You see Captain Twig go to the right, everybody else come down south. Arkle's in trouble. 1 shot remains, and he's going to be alive for the moment. Zeros with a perfectly timed rewind. QoFred not as lucky to have that ability. Going to be chased down and taken out by Captain Twig, while Pretty Prime takes out Zeros.
Maniac's not done yet. He wants Trixtank. He knows the ultimate's down, reviving into place. Captain Twig diving that as well with his bash. Brother, third victim for Team Dignitas, and Arkle was out of that fight completely with the snipes, but now he's back into it, finding 1 return kill onto Maniac, trying to find a Milsey too with that Fatalis. The mobility is quite there, but the Gold Fury going down. Obey Alliance securing their 2nd one of the game.
Important play by Milsey to find the stun there onto the Hercules player. Very easily, Variety could have come through and hit it with a driving strike and looked for either the reset or the objective. but not going to be the case as he's stopped in his tracks by emilzy.
Pretty Prime 5-1-3 this game. Spear of Desolation into Book of Thoth. Probably going to go into the Obsidian Shard for that heavy percent penetration pen this time around. Variety gets the tier 1 tower in mid, getting something back for his team. Even throwing a boulder, recognizing there's not going to be a team fight anytime soon with Portal Demon and Gold Fury down. Gets a free wave without having to overextend too far.
Yeah, we see Hercules players do that a lot, honestly. Use the ultimate on the wave. I feel like it's the only ult you're allowed to use on the wave.
No, there's a few out there. Raw snipes.
Sure, okay, I'll give you Raw. I'll give you Raw. Captain Twig doesn't want to give anything up, looking for the invade again. Although this time, since he's by himself, a little bit less likely. The guys from Dignitas collapse and pick up the speed for their jungler.
Almost 10,000 gold behind. Team Dignitas are struggling. They do have this 1-game lead, so it's not over yet. This best of 5 set, it's just been such a battle of wits, finding the pull and the push, the abduct onto emilzy. He's not really too deterred though. He is a Fafnir. He still has the ultimate.
Dignitas need these 2 kills. It'll be a very strong look, allowing them to really find an entranceway back into this contest. Captain Twig gets hit by a little bit of trouble for both Cubo and Variety, but he's still alive, Toli. Finally, Cubo takes him down. Damage on the right-hand side. Meditation is going to continue the fight, but right now, Team Dignitas still not looking hot.
Looking for the snipes onto Cubo. Fred waiting for the bubble. Misses the first, hits the second, misses the third. Ataraxia, though, caught in a bad spot, gets rooted. His Aegis is down. He gets pulled back in, but the damage, Zeros doesn't get off the revive. 3 dead from Dignitas, 1 from Obey, 2 as Ataraxia falls.
Out of control damage from Nox. That was Team Dignitas' team fight. They were winning that one. That was Team Dignitas' entry back into the game. Team Dignitas go, they get the kills, they get an objective. Pretty Prime by himself says no way.
And Variety, the 4th victim for Team Dignitas to fall. This is bad news bears on the side of the black and
Pretty
yellow.
Prime just said no! I gotta go back to that fight! That was one instance of he just fires the ultimate, and that's what happens with this Nox ultimate. It is a team fight changer. We say that about Habwa a lot, where okay, he ulted, he hits a couple of people and they die. But Pretty Prime comes through with the burst damage, and even the players that don't die have their outgoing damage brought down so they can't win the team fight.
That's the power of the Nox ultimate, just negating a lot of damage. Also the control that he has with the silence. Being able to shadow step into somebody for the double detonate damage is a huge reason why Pretty Prime loves this god. And that's definitely the fight to look at. If there's ever a replay, that's the one to look at.
Portal Demon stolen by Team Dignitas. Got to give a shout out to Zeros with the time stop through the wall.
Well, if I'm Obey Alliance, I'm not too worried about this because Dignitas are not taking that portal to its advantage. That's just a one-way passage to their death. Instead, trying to defend this 5-man siege from Obey Alliance in the Tier 1 mid tower.
Listen, man, it's just an orange dog. I mean, a denial. They're just keeping Obey away from another objective.
Variety, though, caught in a lot of trouble here. Ataraxia with the snipes. Missing the second, misses the third. The rest of his team aggressing towards that Tier 1 mid tower. Using that Draconic form rather early for the AoE coerces instead of saving it for that Tier 2 tower.
Obey, undeterred about the stolen objective. Still pushing up in the mid lane. Now finally going to go ahead and retreat. And Dignitas are taking the portal.
They're trying to do a
They're
sneaky
gonna cut
play.
him off.
They're trying to stop the back. emilzy's half health. Ataraxia is about 66% health. Maniac spots out the rotations. The push, but misses the pull to cut the distance. This is something that Variety is trying to always do as a Hercules player. But recognizing this, Maniac actually sidesteps away from the pull, and he's totally safe.
I'd like to see Dig start this one up, but they're looking more for the fight than the objective here, Toli, which is probably the correct decision in all honesty.
As long as Zeros can constantly throw out these time rips around the corners of the wall, slowly poking away Obey Alliance, he's been doing his job consistently because there's no healing. There's no sustain options from Obey Alliance. Both of these teams, they don't care about the Raw, Sylvanas. the Terras are just not being really played to their advantages.
Zeros, oh, he gets his beads forced early, and he's half HP. He's going to have to keep his finger on that ultimate button. Right now, Obey being corralled on the left side. Big slows coming out of the Captain Twig. He's going to get kicked. He's going to get flipped. He's going to get taken out. Variety puts number 2 in his kill column, but Maniac punishes him very quickly and turns his 6 to a 7. Solo
laner for jungler. 2 very tanky targets on both sides of the battlefield. 4-on-4 for another 40 seconds or so. Speed buff for Cubofred. Arkill, Antrix staying very low, half health. Zeros is left alone to the right. He's forced to rewind, but he's going to get chased down. Ataraxia popping the steroid. Maniac and Ataraxia taking out Zeros. Clean.
Wrong spot to be in. Complete wrong spot to be in for Zeros.
Why did he go to the right when his team was on speed buff? Just some disconnect from...
Rough stuff. That's the best you can say here. Obey, anything but. 25 minutes on the clock. Obey have 21 kills to Team Dignitas's 7. And that's pretty much been the story of this one. Obey get first blood, they invade the jungle, and they push their lead up to a point where Team Dignitas can't really take advantage.
I'm looking at the picks and bans in the draft from Team Dignitas. They're banning away the Serket to start things off, and honestly, I'm looking at the draft from Obey Alliance. Take away this Raven. Just stop allowing this Raven for Captain Twig to be a thing. If you're not going to stop it, play it yourself to effectiveness.
Obey have this ability to play successful characters and not get them banned. The Fenrir is one of their go-to characters. Eager didn't ban it at Worlds. The Raven has been doing that all day. Nobody's banning that. This Raven-Osiris combination specifically is doing that.
And the issue was Dignitas couldn't respond in kind as effectively in the dual lane. Everything that they lost in the solo lane was just not responded in a mirror aspect, cut in a vertical line. Instead, they just allowed this Osiris Raven to control the early pace of the game around that side of the jungle. Fire Giant being started 26 minutes into the game. Everybody's being zoned away. Maniac stunning out too as the Fire Giant gets secured. Cubofred sees it, has to back off, but meanwhile, Zeros trying to get that tier 2 in mid.
And he will get that tier 2. There is a Captain Twig behind him, but not too big of a deal for Zeros to worry about. The rest of the squad, however, fighting down the right side lane. And Captain Twig going to be taken out, but he saves his own life for the moment thanks to a nice little move. And he's going to jump over the wall. Captain Twig, what a play.
Surviving for the time. The rest of his teammates were thinking about pushing the right side Phoenix, but instead has to be really cautious as Zeros and Cubofred have a lot of damage towards the towers. You pop that accelerate on that 4th tick, you get an extra 35% in-hand damage or so. You're doing a lot.
Wow. It's a ton of extra damage that you're looking at right there. And that just becomes problematic as the game comes later and later because of how much you're going to be able to slowly chip the player down.
This is why Kronos has been selected for Zeros. He's really been favoring these mage hunters, you know, the Souls, the Kronoses. We even saw Obey Alliance ban away the Freya in fear and anticipation of that flexible mid laner.
Is it enough to bring Dig back into the game?
The Kronos is very viable in the late game. He does have 4 completed items, but the way Obey Alliance has been playing it, it doesn't seem that they're going to allow even the 5th item to be completed for Zeros. They're going to try to end the game as quickly as possible while they have this Fire Giant buff for another 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, the next fight I want to listen to Obey right now. They're kind of just going through the motions, but I do want to see where these guys are at mentally and see if they can carry that momentum with them into game number 5. Should they win this and stretch it to that 5th game?
It just seems that none of these losses seem to be affecting either of these teams. You know, Dignitas, they won a game and only had 1 kill, or 1 death rather, right? The same thing goes for Obey Alliance before that time around. So they're just bouncing back and forth from each other's losses, and I'm curious to see how game number 5 is going to pan out for Team Dignitas.
If Obey win this one, it is not guaranteed, despite the fact that they're above 10,000 gold. Team Dignitas can certainly fight into it, and like I said before, I think that their composition is a very strong late game composition. Cubofred, Zeros, and Arkill are all going to be able to be even stronger than, yes, all carries. They're the late game carries is what I'm saying. So if you get to that late game, which we're very close to, if not already in it, well, this is where Dignitas need to start their comeback.
I mean, if you look at it, Cubofred, 4 items with 2 starters. Captain Twig, finishing off his 6th. Mantle of Discord completed. Sunder upgraded from Captain Twig. He's going to be dealing a massive amount of damage as well as absorbing a good amount in return. Variety on the right-hand side. I think he got spotted out. Captain Twig countering it, the Sentry Ward around between the right and the mid side. Not going to look for the Hercules, the tanky target.
Obey Alliance, right side, on the lane.
Trying to find the first Phoenix of the game with the Fire Giant buff. Still for another 50 seconds. The pull and the push onto Captain Twig. Forced to retreat for the time being. Trixtank having to use the ultimate on himself. The Wild Hunt and the Bow. The first victim from Dignitas.
Captain Twig putting down Trixtank. Up to the sky goes Rob. He picks up 1. Not done yet with the basics on the ground now. Now he's in the sky. Looking for the second. Can't find it. Does find it. Not enough to find the kill, however. Team Dignitas suffer. They lose 3. They lose their right Phoenix. Obey looking for the Titan. Not even messing around with the other birds. They're going right for the truck. Zeros is able to take down Emilzy and punish him for it. Titan, half HP. Brought down to 25. 10%. 0. We're going to a game 5.
EU are so evenly matched despite what the scoreline may say in one game. That does not affect the losing team's mentality heading into the next one. Obey Alliance stretching this best of 5 into the last and final game. We're now in a best of 1.
Yeah, this one is for all the cookies. Very exciting. Really seeing this comeback. I personally did not expect it. I didn't think Obey was going to be able to take down Dignitas after that game number 4, but or excuse me, after that game number 3. But coming into 4, certainly a different story. Obey feeling themselves and able to stretch it to 5.
Absolutely. And Dignitas, though, I'm not counting them out. You know, momentum can be said like the last team that won a game has all the momentum, but it's been the opposite actually in this entire set. The losing team just gets angry all of a sudden to that has something to prove for right's sakes. And game number 5, I'm just going to give it to Dignitas off of this pattern alone.
5 is a reset. 5 is a complete reset. We're coming into a single game scenario, essentially. We got to see who winds up the best in this best of 1. But to break down number 4, it's aggro.
Only fitting that we go all 5 games with how well these two teams have played during this weekend. Game 4 goes handily to Obey. And man, what a game it was from them. Basically everyone showing up once more for the boys on Obey, but again, that right side pressure was so important for them.
Where did it start? Start on the right side. First blood goes that way and then continued on?
Yeah, the Hercules was useless. It honestly was. Like, I've called this, they had yet again another chance to pick the Bellona in solo, and he just didn't. And
it was the fact that they had the opportunity to take Osiris away from Maniac as well, that Nemesis and Khepri combination. Trix played great on that Khepri overall, but just wasn't able to carry the game.
There's just no pressure for the Khepri. Like, if you just look at the first 3 picks, it was Fafnir, Ravana, and Osiris of Obey.
And when you look at the player damage,
3 amazing picks. Then you have Kern, overvalued, Nemesis, fair enough, it's okay, but you could have picked Bats instead if it was through to the next set of picks. And a Khepri, which is okay, but they've got no pressure anyway, so it's a useless pick. So 3 useless picks, 3 OP picks.
2 gods that we've seen be like literally first pick a lot of the time. Zeus and Susano, 2 pressure gods we have not seen picked or banned at all this set. Could really see those coming out in game 5 potentially. The player damage very evenly spread there. Maniac and Captain Twig on the frontliners doing quite a bit, but Pretty Prime on that Nox was absolutely phenomenal. Got a couple replays we got to get to. We got some long ones here.
Absolutely amazing, that pick. Like that. That blew my mind. That was so awesome.
Well, for me, just to go back to that Nox, I think Prime played very well. They set some fantastic plays in it, but it was the early game from this Raven and Osiris that set up this to happen. Every single time they keep getting this composition of Raven and Osiris, this is what happens all the time. The backline gets left alone to just build damage and destroy.
But at the beginning, I mean, yes, Obey got the lead, but Dignitas started to claw back into it. There was one turning point in this game where Dignitas get killed in all 3 lanes.
It's like 30 seconds.
Within about a 1 minute span. It started off with Ataraxia in that duo lane, finding this solo kill onto Arkel.
Minions OP. This is Arkel going way too aggressive here. He was basically looking to solo Ataraxia. Credit where it's due, though. Ataraxia was low there.
Do you know which small play did that?
Go on.
Holding that last shot, because that allowed the archers to get more whilst he was juking left and right. That was the timing that got him that kill.
And most people probably overlooked that too, because even when I think when he was running away, Arca probably didn't think about the fact that he was still juking to avoid the ult, that the archers were wailing away.
If he ran in a straight line, he would have survived.
And then this one, this is another play. This is what happened at the same time just afterwards, Aggro, where this boulder was so critical from Variety. If he misses this boulder, it turns the fight, and guess what? He misses the boulder.
Look at Emilzy coming down the jungle, jumps in order to get in range to hit his solo laner Maniac with the meditation. So instead of Variety getting the kill on a Maniac, it's Variety who falls in this engagement.
And it's not just the med though, but it was the body blocks that Emilzy did with his character as well to stop Khepri from continuing to chase round and try and block him down. Meanwhile, while all this was going on, just as that fight was happening, Prime in the mid lane was fighting as well.
Just like a ranked game. Every lane dies, F6. Just get them out.
Without a doubt. And that was one of the very few 1v1s we actually get to see in that mid lane there. Usually it's the jungler, the support, whoever coming in to find support, but it was Zeros playing a little bit over aggressive. That was the big turning point in that one. But even despite losing those 3 kills, all across the map, Dig almost took a fight against Obey deep into Obey's jungle. It really looked like it was going to go Dignitas's way, despite being down over 10,000 gold at that stage in the game, until Pretty Prime just made, again, these dashes from Nox have been the real storyline. His positioning from the beginning of this fight is so good. Look at him. Maniac is his bodyguard at the beginning of this.
Exactly, but look how far he falls back to the safety. Getting died by Variety, his whole job is survive, survive, survive. The rest of the team Dignitas here go back in the jungle to continue fighting, and it leaves Prime alone. Nobody looks towards Prime, and then this happens.
Him with his bodyguard coming around the back, laying down the silence before he hits with the dash. That unbelievable burst of damage, 140% scaling if you hit him with both sides.
70% on the first hit, 70% again when he comes out, but the Siphon Darkness does 100% as well. So when you think about it, that was 240% that character did.
Without even taking into consideration the base damage, which is also
the base damage
high.
plus, Book of Tough, Spirit Desolation as well, shredded the whole team.
I wouldn't even like to see the damage off him in that fight. He literally won that fight 1v5, or 2v5 because he had to go inside someone.
That really could have been Dignitas's comeback story right there, but Pretty Prime puts his foot down, and it's been consistently, I mean, yes, we talked so much about how well Maniac has played on the Osiris, Emilzy, Ataraxia has had a great weekend as well, but Pretty Prime has been the one that's really separated himself from the rest of, well, basically everybody.
He's played amazing every single set.
Really, really strong play coming out of the mid laner. It's funny for Obey.
Because now we're into game 5, and it's kind of like a reset. It's a best of 1 again, but then it comes down to mental pressure as well, I should say. Because of the fact that you've gone into game 5, Obey will have the advantage of winning that last game, so they've got that boost of energy of like, okay, we can do this one. This isn't going to be much of a problem now. We just got to do the same drafts, keep to our plans. Dignitas have got to find that mental edge in the game 5. You yourself haven't played that many game 5s.
I played a couple, sometimes they've gone to the 5th, especially versus LG. And it was Cloud9 at the first Worlds we attended. It was so hard. I'd say the first Worlds was hardest for us because we lost that first game when we pretty much decided them, and we also got the Gold Fury too.
Really, really strong play, though, out of you guys in those game 5s, and Dignitas and Obey both looking to kind of copy that sort of performance here to claim the title here at Smite Masters. And Dignitas, just based on the fact, we have to assume that they're going to take second pick here, right? Because second pick has won literally every game.
Seems to be the case, and I think if that is the case where Obey choose, I mean, do Obey choose second pick here? I think it's Dig's choice, right?
I think what's going to happen this game, they're not going to prioritize the Khepri like they keep doing. They're going to look for that Fafnir. Like they can't just let the Fafnir keep going through. No. Well, they only did it once, but I mean, that was like kind of experimental.
Exactly. They pick Kern as first pick, Dignitas dead. They go for the first pick again, and now the same bans that we saw in the last game. They need to pick the Fafnir first of all. It does still give them Raven as well as the Osiris, but Fafnir, as the late game goes on, buffs the whole team.
And Trickstone.